have the guided notes for section 2.7. We're going to solve proportion problems. Okay, a proportion is an equation that states two ratios are equal. We can use the multiplicative inverse property to solve proportion problems. In general, we simply multiply both sides of the equation by the denominator of one side. And we still haven't isolated the variable, then multiplying both sides by the denominator of the other side. Here we have 9 over 2 equals k over 25. Okay, so we want to find the value of k here. And the best way to find the value of k is simply to multiply both sides by the denominator of the right-hand side. So it's times 25 times 25. And now we're left with, left with k on the right-hand side. And that's equal to, well, let's see, this is 25 over 1, right? So 25 times 9 is 225 over, when 1 times 2 is 2. And since 225 is odd and 2 is even, then that can't reduce. So here I have my final answer. All right, well, let's try this one. Well, hey, wait a second. My variable is in the denominator. Oh man, so this is going to be a little bit more difficult. It's going to involve more than one step. So if I multiply both sides by m, multiply this side by m, then I get to cancel on the right hand side. And again, this is m over 1. So now I have 3m over 8 equals 30. Well, now I have a fraction over here, so I'm going to multiply this by 8. I'm going to multiply this side by 8. And now my 8's cancel on the left side, so I'm left with 3m equals, and 8 times 30 is 240. And we could divide by 3. And we're left with m equals 80. Yeah, that ain't too bad. Ain't too bad. A florist is making centerpieces. He uses 2 dozen roses for every 5 centerpieces that he makes. Jolene, thank you. A florist is making centerpieces. He uses 2 dozen roses for every 5 centerpieces. How many dozens of roses will he need to make 20 centerpieces? Well, here this gave us, let me get my pen. So this statement here, this one, gives us a ratio. We can compare dozens of roses to centerpieces. Well, I know he uses 2 dozen roses for every 5 centerpieces. Okay, so then it asks how many dozens of roses will he need to make 20 centerpieces. Well, again, we have roses, dozens of roses divided by number of centerpieces. Here are the two things that we are comparing here in our ratio. And so if I don't know the amount of how many dozens of roses he uses, again, we use the variable x for the unknown. So I don't know how many dozens of roses he needs to make these centerpieces. But I do know that he wants to make 20 centerpieces. Well, 2 over 5 equals x over 20. This should be a pretty easy one. We've done a lot, or we've done more difficult ones up at this point, so this one should be pretty simple. We multiply both sides by 20. Get rid of the 20 in the denominator there, and I'll multiply this side by 20. And 20 times 2 is 40, so I have 40 over 5 equals x. Well, x was solved for, just one step. Now, 40 divided by 5, everybody knows that to be 8. 8 equals x. So he needs 8 dozen roses to make 20 centerpieces. That ain't too bad. All right, so the homework that I want to do for this section 2.7, the homework problems we're going to do for chapter 2.7. Let's see. I want to do problems 11 through 49.